book lovers, it is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about all the manga series that I went to read in 2022. This is the 7 on Sunday topic, and I'm the host of 7 on Sunday. I will link the Goodreads page down in the description where you can check it out and you can participate in a topic in the future, or you can suggest a topic. This week's topic is not necessarily just about manga. It can be about graphic novels or comics, anything that has to do with the illustrated category, I'd say. But because I am a very avid manga reader at the moment, I opted for a manga TBR video. So if you guys are here and if you read manga, let me know if you have any recommendations for me. Or if you're here and you don't read manga, you're welcome to take any recommendations based on what I'm talking about. I hope that you might find the thing that either gets you into manga or just the next best manga for you. I'm going to be going through a bunch of series that I'm very much looking forward to reading this year. Pretty much a refreshed list from last year because there are some series that I'm saying goodbye to. Like Demon Slayer, I'm saying goodbye to. I'm also saying goodbye to The Promised Neverland. This is pretty much just all the titles that I want to get to this year that I might have put on last year's TBR, but are like more of a high priority because some of my main series are out of the way now. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to get into my manga TBR for 2022. First series that I am going to bring up is a series that is very popular globally. It actually took the manga category by storm, even so that the publishing company did not print as many of the first volumes or the first few volumes as they should have, because it ended up being a worldwide sensation. Also, the premise is pretty much intriguing me. At the very same time, I know it's probably going to be the most graphic out of all the ones that I've chosen. However, very much excited to read it. And that, my friends, is Chainsaw Man. I've got volume 1 on my shelf. However, I cannot find volume 2 anywhere. I cannot find a lot of the volumes anywhere because the publishing company has to go through a reprint at the moment. They didn't actually anticipate this series to blow up, but it did. I have been seeing buzz about Chainsaw Man everywhere. I just want to know what all the hype's about. I also want to see if I'm going to be able to stomach this, because by the title, by the cover, it looks like it's going to get intense. I'm hoping that I will enjoy the story, not just for action purposes, but I hope that there are some good character moments in here. I'm currently experiencing some Demon Slayer and Promised Neverland withdrawals because I loved the character moments in those series. And so I'm really hoping that Chainsaw Man will be the next best thing for me, considering that it pretty much took the world by storm in 2021. I just hope that it takes my reading life by storm. This manga that I'm going to bring up is one that I did mention last year that I did not prioritize this year. However, last year I believe I read 3 volumes. But I do want to continue on with the Land of the Lustrous series. I really loved the anime. The anime is actually a 3D animation as opposed to a 2D animation, so if you guys want some stunning visuals, I would highly recommend you watch the Land of the Lustrous anime. I feel like because I've watched the anime already, it's not as magical when I'm reading the manga because it doesn't pop out of the page to me. I'm not saying this with every anime, but with the Land of the Lustrous, if you've watched it, then you probably know what I'm talking about. And at times, I have to remember what color stone everybody is reading the manga, even though, of course, the shape of their faces and their heads are pretty telling. So that's why I put it off as opposed to the other manga that I got to last year. However, I want to change that this year. I'm now distanced away enough from the anime adaptation that I believe that I can keep up with the series and get through it. I'm holding up volume number 4 because I believe that volume number 4 was the next one that I had to read. I have at least 6 volumes to get to, so I guess it's about time I get to them. Next, I want to bring up a series that I started last year, but I do want to continue on this year, and this year I do want to make it a priority. That, my friends, is the One Punch Man series. I'm holding up volume number 4. This isn't necessarily the next volume to read. This was the last volume I read. My next volume is actually on my bedside table and I wasn't bothered to take it out of my bedroom. I have volumes 5 all the way to 21 on my shelf that have not been read yet. And I believe that this series has been published in English up to volume 24. I really need to get a move on with the series. I do enjoy the One Punch Man series. I understand that a lot of people don't like the One Punch Man series. I mean, I've seen some very interesting reviews from my friends on Goodreads saying that it's overrated, but I think I love the satirical nature of it the most. Essentially, it's meant to pick on the superhero stereotypes. I think it just makes for a really funny read. I believe that either in volume 3 or volume 4, there was this really funny how to be the best masterclass or something like that, and I was cracking up. Like, even though I watched that scene in the anime, I just cracked up reading the manga again because it was just hilarious. I do want to continue on this year, maybe for the plot, but mostly to just have a fun time. Speaking of One Punch Man, then I've got a manga that was also made by the same creator. And that, my friends, is Mob Psycho 100. I loved the anime adaptation of Mob Psycho 100. I did enjoy One Punch Man, but I tend to gravitate more toward Mob Psycho 100. I think it's because I relate to the character of Mob a bit more, and I really love the characters in the series. I love Reagan. Reagan makes me laugh so much. And an honorary mention for this year, if I can get my hands on the Reagan spin-off series, then yes, I will read the Reagan spin-off series. But I do want to start from the very beginning with Mob Psycho 100. I believe that season 3 comes out this year. I loved both seasons 1 and 2. I believe that the series is going to be a really good binge read. I believe that there are 7 volumes out published in English, and then there are like 1 or 2 Reagan volumes published in English, so I'm very much looking forward to picking this series up. The next series I bring up is a series that I talk about on my channel a lot. Demon Slayer was one of my favorite series that I've ever read, but I am so happy that one of my other favorite series is still ongoing, and that, my friends, is Beastars. I'm holding up volume 15. This was actually the last volume that I finished. This is the last volume that has been published in English so far. I believe that Beastars has 22 volumes in total. This is more of a waiting game for me. I'm just waiting for them to publish individually. I don't know whether this series is going to be all published by the end of the year. I really hope so, but with supply chain issues and also with printing issues, it might look like 2023 would probably be when we see the Beastars finale on our shelves. I heard that the finale is just okay. It's not great. I heard that the ending of Beastars is a little bit underwhelming. However, I'm really enjoying the story so far. As much as I would like a grand finale, I don't really mind whether or not this has a grand finale, as long as I'm just enjoying the experience. I just love everything about the series. I love everything about the messages that it tries to convey. I'm not gonna lie, I did not like season 2's plotline as much as I liked season 1. I feel like season 1, or like the first 5 to 6 volumes of Beastars, started off with the best kind of intense plotline. Yes, there's a bunch of intensity in this series, but it doesn't have the same momentum as the first part, and I believe that that was because that we were establishing life in this world and how intense it could be. But now, because we're just going through the motions with the series, there are things that we are used to, but it's still fascinating. So yeah, that's what I have to say about the Beastars series. I would highly recommend it if you are skeptical, because I was very skeptical with the idea of Beastars before I watched the anime. Like, I thought to myself, oh, is that like an adult version of Zootopia? I mean, a bunch of people say that it technically is. GOODREADS reviews that I've read said Zootopia was essentially trying to convey some of these messages, but you can't really convey that through a children's movie. Beastars is probably a better outlet to do that exact same thing in terms of prejudices, but using animals to do so. The next ongoing series that I'm so excited to read this year, that I believe will only get like a few volumes of this year because printing issues, but not only that, translation at this time, because this series is fresh out of Japan at the moment. Unlike Beastars, where Beastars is like already finished in Japan. That, my friends, is Spy Family. Volume 6 is the next one I have to read. I believe that we're only going to be expecting somewhere between 3 to 4 volumes this year. It's gonna be months until volume 7 comes out, so yeah, I'm a little bit devastated about that, but I'm so excited to continue on with the series. I love the premise of the series. I'm pretty sure I brought it up in last year's video as well. It's probably gonna be on my manga TBR for every year until it ends. Very much looking forward to continuing on with Spy Family. Volume 5 ended off on the biggest plot twist that I just did not see coming, and that's why you need Anya, the telepath, in like every scene. If you did not watch my last year's manga TBR video, Spy Family essentially follows a fake family that was organized by a spy, the main character being a spy. So the main character is the father of this family, and he ends up starting this fake marriage with this assassin and adopts a telepathic child. And then they end up getting a dog who also has a little bit of an ability as well. I would highly recommend you check out the series if you haven't yet. It's everything you want it to be with those kind of characters who have those kind of professions or powers. It feels like a spy thriller, but at the very same time, I'd say that it feels almost like The Incredibles, but not. Incredibles with a fake family. That's what I would say. And then I'm gonna bring this series up that I have not yet mentioned on my channel. I started reading it yesterday, and oh boy, did I have a good time. I knew that I would as soon as I found out the premise of the series. And that, my friends, is The Way of the House Husband. This is a hilarious series. So I see very mixed reviews about the series because I believe that a lot of people think that it's gonna be a lot more action-packed. The basic premise is that the house husband is a former Yakuza member. What I love about the series so much is that he takes being a house husband very seriously. I was laughing so much yesterday while reading this. But the main critique that I've seen is that a bunch of people wanted this to be like Spy Family, because Spy Family actually has a bunch of intensity. It's not as slice of life as you would expect it to be, considering that they're like a family. You'd expect them to have a lot of family moments, but there are a lot of action moments. humans in Spy Family. Way of the House Husband, however, is a lot more slice of life. But the great thing about the slice of life manga is that this former Yakuza member comes off as a very intimidating house husband. So every single time he goes to the supermarket, people are threatened by him. Every single time he walks out of the house, people are threatened by it. He takes things super seriously. So technically this is more of a comedy series. This is not as much of an action series as Spy Family. So if you're wanting more action, probably go to Spy Family, or maybe even One Punch Man, maybe even Mob Psycho 100. But if you're wanting something that's a bit more slice of life with some comedy, Way of the House Husband is for you. Now we're gonna go to something that's a bit more intense, and it's a shoujo, but yeah, it does have some action in it and explicit lovemaking scenes, I'd say. So this one is on the mature side, and that, my friends, is Yakuza Lover. And this series, as I mentioned, is a romantic action manga series. There are some very interesting choices that are made in the series, you know, based on like life or death situations, because when you have a romance that hinges on the fact that the love interest is the head of his gang, of course the female protagonist is going to make some very interesting decisions. There's some frustrating moments that do happen in here. However, I'd say like it is kind of realistic in some way, in a sense that if a gang member actually wants to be in a relationship, they would do what they could to pursue that, but still protect the person that they love and care about, but at the very same time treat every day like it's their last. I find that very interesting in this series. So I've actually read 2 volumes so far. I've got the 3rd on my shelf. I believe that 10 volumes have been published in Japan, but there are 3 volumes that have been published here. I wanted to read it mostly because of its high-end intensity as well as its romantic elements, but this is definitely a series I'd probably recommend to people from the ages of 17 up. The lovemaking scenes are shown. If you're a parent, I would not recommend this to your children. If you are a child, would not recommend this to you yet. I don't think that this is the right thing for you. You should probably read like Mob Psycho 100 or something. I don't know. But I mean, who am I to say what your maturity level is? The last physical manga that I have on this list before I go on to a few that I have on my TBR but just not on my physical TBR yet is a manga I actually was not expecting to put on my TBR for this year, but I decided based on a purchase that Camilo made the other day, I think I want to give it a shot. That, my friends, is Inuyasha. I did not expect this either. I've wanted to read Rumiko Takahashi's works previously. I didn't think that Inuyasha would be one of them. I don't know actually how long the series is, so I can't guarantee that I'm going to finish Inuyasha this year, but I do want to start it because I have the first 3 volumes in one bind up here, so I want to check it out. With Rumiko Takahashi's manga, I've wanted to read their catalog for a while. I've more been looking at their new series Mao, which has only just been published, but I've heard great things from people who grew up with Inuyasha, so that's why I've decided that I do want to give it a try. I believe that there's a hate to love romance dynamic that happens in the series. I'm not too sure, that's just what I've been told, but I'm willing to see it for myself. Now I'm going to mention 2 manga series that I have on my imaginary TBR, not yet my physical TBR. Second last series that I do want to mention in this video is Monster. This was recommended to me by Camilo for the 12 book challenge, and I've wanted to read Monster for a while. Ever since I heard the premise and ever since people were saying if you like Death Note, you will like Monster. As much as it doesn't have the paranormal elements of Death Note, I love that kind of intense plotline in my stories, and as soon as I heard the premise of Monster, I immediately mentally signed up. The problem is, I've mentioned this a few times, due to the supply chain, I don't have it yet. I hope that I can get my hands on the series and read it soon. The last series that I want to bring up is actually a series that is not yet published in English, but it will be released here in Australia, I believe, in May, and that, my friends, is Sakamoto Days. I am so excited for Sakamoto Days because from what I'm gathering, it's pretty much like Way of the House Husband meets Spy Family. I don't want to compare it to 2 like popular manga series, but I believe it's going to be up my alley based on that. The first time I heard about the series was through Joey at the Anime Man's channel. He introduced it to me and I had no idea that it was going to be published in Australia, and I only recently found out. So Sakamoto Days essentially is about a man who is a spy who goes to a grocery store and immediately falls in love with a woman that he sees in there, I believe. So he grows up older, he quits his spy job, he ends up getting fatter, and then he decides, I don't know if it's based on events, I really don't know because I haven't actually read the series yet, to go back into that field. I think I mentioned that Spy Family reminds me of The Incredibles, but Sakamoto Days also kind of reminds me of The Incredibles in a sense that it reminds me of Mr. Incredible himself because he's getting back into the field after being a family man, but it also reminds me of Way of the House Husband because the house husband is a former Yakuza gang member. It's similar but different. I believe that Sakamoto Days is going to follow more of the Spy Family route though. That's why I would compare it to both. I believe that I'm probably going to read around 1 or 2 volumes this year, maybe even 3. It really depends on when Australia can get the stock of Sakamoto Days. That is a manga series that I have been anticipating for a while now, and I'm so excited that we're finally in 2022 and it's finally going to be published this year. So I guess that's going to be it for this video today, book lovers. If you ended up watching the full video, leave me the 100 emoji, because here we keep it 100. If you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers, and also I have social medias. I'm at GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at GSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.